Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is going to be another in the series of RHCSA exam practice sessions, and the topic in this video is going to be the objective under the Create Simple Shell Scripts group called Process Script Inputs. I want to remind you that these videos aren't necessarily intended to be authoritative information on the topics. Rather, it's some examples of how I would prepare for these objectives on the exam, and so therefore I do try to have the information accurate for you. Before we dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers to the channel and watching another video. I also want to invite everyone, if you enjoy the content of the video, make sure you click like, and for those that have not subscribed yet, make sure you click that subscribe button and ring the bell when you do, so you can be aware of when new content is made available. Process script inputs, or rather the objective process script inputs, is about feeding arguments to your scripts. And if you're not sure about what the term argument means, you've probably been using them and you may not have realized it, such as the command ls. So if I just do ls with nothing, it gives me a list of the files I have. I'm here in the TMP directory. And you can give ls some options, and one of the common ones is ls-l, which gives you the long listing. It shows you ownership of the file and the permissions. And then ls-a, which will show you hidden files that begin with dots, as well as the other files. You can combine that ls-al. And the -a and the -l, those are arguments that you are passing to the command ls. And the arguments, if you feed it the -l argument, it's going to do a particular behavior. Scripts can also accept arguments. And I have a script here called RHCSA. And what I'm going to do here is we're going to echo the argument passed is, and I'm going to use $1. Now, this $1 is a special variable that will return, or maybe return the value is not quite the right phrase, but it is going to use whatever has been passed in as the argument. All right, so let me save this here, and let's see if I made that. Nope, have not made it executable yet, so we'll make our args test executable. And we're going to do args test. And right now, nothing, well, rather the echo statement worked. The argument passed is, and then there's no value there because I didn't give the script an argument. So if I were to do this again, and let's just use one of my favorite words, foo, and notice it says the argument passed is foo. And so what it did, this $1 represents this first argument. And you can give scripts multiple arguments. I could do args test, foo, and then blah. Well, blah is not going to show up anywhere because there's nothing in the script that is representative of that particular argument. Now, as you might be able to imagine, let's change this for our grammar here. $2 would be the second argument. So let's do this again, foo, blah. And there we go, the arguments passed are foo and blah. Now, if you were to do just foo again, foo and nothing, because there's no argument there. You can't do something, or at least to my knowledge, we can't do something like this. So we've pressed a space, we're not going to put an argument, we put another space, and let's do foo. It's still going to give us foo because it is literally whatever the first argument is after the file name. Now, we'll put this to the test here. Let's see how it would handle a subshell. So let's do args test, and for the parameter, let's do this. etc redhat release. See what happens here. So your subshell would also work for this. And so what it did was send this etc redhat release to our script. Now notice it says our CentOS and Linux. Now this is curious. So let's just cat etc Red Hat release. This should make sense as far as why it gave us CentOS and Linux, because etc Red Hat release is effectively a space delimited list, or it has been interpreted as a space delimited list. CentOS space Linux space release space 8.3.11. So notice how the CentOS and Linux came through with this. If you were to do 3 and 4, we do the same script again. Notice how each item delimited by spaces is fed into this as arguments. There are a couple other special variables with this, and one of which is the $ and bang or pound or hashtag, depending on, I guess, your generation, right? And what we're going to do here is see the value of, let's say that I wanted to actually put that particular variable in my echo statement, and not the variable value, the actual name of the variable. I would have to escape the $, because otherwise, since I'm using double quotes, Bash is going to try to interpret this as a variable. So I escape the $, and then we're going to do $variable. And we'll comment this line out. We're not going to use it right now. So let's save that. And we'll run our args test, and the value is set to 0. That is because this variable is going to return the number of arguments that are given. Now, technically, there is an argument that is argument 0, and that refers to the actual name of the shell script. You can look into the man page for Bash, and it'll give some information about those particular arguments. So, if I were to do this, foo blah Linux, notice the value is set to 3. So that $pound is 3 because we have 3 arguments there. The other special variable is $@. And what this is going to do, let's save that. Was it at? I thought it was at. I see what I did. Yep. Some of you that are masters of Bash realize the mistake that I made. So the $@ will give you a list of your arguments. So if I were to do foo blah Linux, notice that the $@ is going to be your foo blah Linux here. So there's really not a whole lot to the processing of script inputs. It's just understanding what the $1, $2, understanding that corresponds to arguments that you have given your script. I'll do one other little example here for you. This is something that I did just as a practice of multiple concepts. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an if statement, and we're going to check to see if $pound is greater than 0. All right, remember the $pound is going to give us the number of arguments that you have. And if it is greater than 0, then we're going to do a for loop, and we're going to do for I in $@. So remember, the $@ is going to give you all of your arguments in a space delimited list. So that's perfect for what kind of the default arrangement of 4 is going to be. And we're just going to echo I for right now. So it's basically going to echo each of the arguments. And let's do an else with this. So if then else, we're going to echo there were no arguments. and then we'll FI for done. So we're going to check to see if there are any arguments, and we're doing that by looking at the number of arguments and seeing if it's greater than 0. If this evaluates to true, then we'll loop through each of those arguments and just echo them out. And if this evaluates to not true, then we're going to echo the line, there were no arguments. So let's save this, and let's put it to the test, first of all, with no arguments. So args test. We have a syntax error. Let's see what the syntax error is. For I. Yep. So I've realized it. Do you see it? And if you look closely, even though this is complaining, it gave us a good clue. Line 6 is probably where the issue is. And what it's looking for is the do for the for loop. So let's try this again with the fix. And that's what we expect. We did not give this any arguments, and it says there were no arguments. Let's try it again, and we'll give it some arguments. So I'll do some baseball terms. So we'll give it several arguments here. And there we go. It looped through each of those and gave you Oakland Athletics are my favorite team. One other thing I'd like to do with this script, we're going to extend it just a little bit further. And there may be another way of doing what I'm about to do. If there is, feel free to put that in the comments, because I always like seeing different solutions to the same problem. That's one of the keys in IT. There's rarely like the one solution to rule them all. There's usually multiple ways of solving a problem. But what I'm wanting to do is going to extend our little echo statement to say like the first argument, or argument number 1, is whatever. And what I'm going to do for this is use a counter. So we're going to set counter to 1. And in our echo statement, we're simply going to say argument number counter is $i, since I is the variable that's being passed by the for loop. And we can do, actually we'll increment the counter by 1. So we'll do our double parentheses to do an arithmetic expression. So let's run this same little script with the same arguments and see what happens this time. And there we go. It gives you a little counter of all of the arguments. So again, this isn't real complicated. It's just understanding that you can give your script inputs as arguments, and you can utilize those using the special $ number variables. And on top of that, there are a couple of other special variables, the $, pound, or $hashtag, or $sharp if you're a musician, that will give you the number of arguments that are given. That's not counting argument 0, which is the file name itself, and then the $@, which will give you your arguments as a space delimited list. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch. Feel free to leave any comments or ask questions. I'll answer them to the best of my ability and as I have time. Also, if there are other topics that you would like me to make videos on, feel free to leave comments in my videos asking for that. I like producing content that you, my audience, finds useful. If you have not subscribed yet, I do encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the bell. And then if you did enjoy the content of the video, make sure you click like and subscribe. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.